Anthony Nolan is the charity that saves the lives of people with blood cancer or a blood disorder who needs a blood stem cell or bone marrow transplant. Every day, we use our register to match remarkable individuals willing to donate their stem cells or bone marrow to people who desperately need life-saving transplants. This is called an allograft transplant. If you've been told that you need an allograft transplant, you probably have a lot of questions. So let's go through what happens. Your hospital will take a blood sample from you, and if you have any siblings, your hospital might take a sample from them too. If your sibling is a match for you and is happy and healthy enough to donate, the transplant centre will almost always choose them as a donor. We're often asked why we don't test half-siblings, cousins or other relatives. This is because, although you're related, you don't share the same mother and father, so the chances that they're a perfect match for you are exactly the same as a stranger. If none of your siblings are a match, your transplant centre will get in touch with us to let us know you need an unrelated donor. As soon as they do, we'll first look at the Anthony Nolan register, which can search all the registered donors in the UK. We'll also have an initial look at what donors are available for you internationally. There are registers all around the world, and we're all linked together. We'll make a list of donors who could be a match for you, and we'll send it to your transplant centre within 24 hours. Then, from this list, we'll take a closer look at each of the donors and whittle them down to the best 4, 5 or 6. This will be done either by our specialist donor selection team or your medical team. Once that's done, we'll get in touch with each shortlisted donor to make sure they're still available and medically fit to donate. If your donor is from the UK, then our team will contact them. If they're from another country, their register will do this for us. Once we've got hold of them, each donor will go to their GP to give a blood sample. This sample will be sent to your transplant centre's laboratory, the same lab where your blood sample will be. The lab will do some very detailed tests on your sample and the donor samples, and they'll line up the results to see which is the best match. Matching is done based on your human leukocyte antigen, or HLA tissue type. Your HLA is what makes you, you. It's your individual genetic characteristic. It's similar to your blood group, but much more diverse and complicated. The better the match, the better the chance the new cells will be accepted by your body. This is known as engraftment. The better the engraftment, the less likely you'll be to develop problems after your transplant. Within your HLA genes, we look at 5 key sites, or loci. Each one of these sites has 2 alleles, making 10 in total. If 8 alleles match up with your donors, then we call this an 8 out of 10 match. If 9 match up, it's a 9 out of 10 match. And if all 10 match, then you've got yourself a 10 out of 10 match. There are millions of different combinations of these genes. There could be thousands of potential donors for you, or it could be a challenge for us to find even one. It all depends on how common your tissue type is. If you've been told that it's difficult to find you a match, your consultant may talk to you about looking for a matching cord blood unit. Cord blood is the blood left inside the placenta and umbilical cord after a baby is born. Anthony Nolan and the NHS run programs where mums-to-be sign up to donate their umbilical cord blood. Once the baby is born, we collect the stem cells from this blood and cryogenically freeze them so they can be used in transplants. Because these stem cells have come from a baby, they're less developed, which means they don't have to match the patient as closely as with adult donors. A cord blood match is also slightly different, as the match will be marked out of 6 rather than 10. Let's pause for a sec. Now, we know this may all sound very complicated, but don't worry. Anthony Nolan is home to one of the world's leading research institutes, and we spend all day, every day, finding out more and more about what it is that makes the perfect matches and how we can make even more. It's also worth keeping in mind that finding a match is just the start of what will be a long transplant journey for you and your family. Now, as well as looking at the best match, we'll also do tests to make sure that the donor hasn't developed any medical problems since joining our register. All of this can take a few weeks, as it takes a while to get in touch with each donor and for them to get to their GP and provide their sample. When we're choosing a donor, we also take into consideration how old the donor is, as we know that transplants involving younger donors often have fewer post-transplant complications. Another factor we consider when selecting a donor is whether you test positive for a very common virus called cytomegalovirus, or CMV for short. Ideally, we would want to find a donor who tests the same for this virus as you do. For example, if you're CMV positive, your donor needs to be too. In some cases, this is less important. Your doctor will make this decision. After we've considered all these factors, your doctor will choose your donor. Our donor team will contact the donor and let them know the exciting news and arrange for them to have a full medical check. Once they've passed this check, our team will start making arrangements for the donation. Your clinical team will set your transplant date after taking into consideration your treatment regime and the donor's availability. Meanwhile, we'll select a backup donor, just in case anything happens to the one we've picked. In the lead-up to your transplant, you'll have a course of treatment to get you ready for the big day. Depending on your condition, this will be to fully or partially remove your immune system and prepare your body to take on a new immune system from your donor. While this is happening, somewhere in the world, your donor is getting ready to give their stem cells. There are two ways to donate. The most common way is called peripheral blood stem cell donation and involves a process a bit like giving blood. Before donating, your donor will have a series of injections of hormones over 4 days to encourage their bone marrow to produce more stem cells, which will be pushed out into their bloodstream. When they're ready to donate, they'll be connected to a machine which takes blood from one arm, filters out the stem cells, and returns the blood to their other arm. This is known as apheresis. If they're donating via bone marrow, then they'll be gearing up for a general anesthetic and a small operation where 2 needles are inserted into their pelvis to extract the bone marrow. Whichever route they go down, they'll be in hospital for a couple of days. The 2 different ways of donating result in 2 different products, bone marrow and blood stem cells. They do the same job. The decision about whether the donation should be blood stem cells or bone marrow is based on what's best for you and the treatment of your condition, and also what's best for the donor. While the donor is in hospital, one of our UK-based volunteer couriers will be making their way to pick up the stem cells. Depending on where your donor is from, the courier could be travelling anywhere from New York, New Delhi, or even as far away as New Zealand to collect them for you. Or, if they're from the UK, they could be coming from just around the corner. The stem cells are carefully packaged up in a specially adapted cool box and delivered to your medical team. The cells last 72 hours once they leave the donor. But don't worry, we never miss a deadline. Once they arrive, you'll receive the stem cells through an IV, and that's when the magic begins. The cells will kickstart your immune system and deliver you from a very vulnerable state. The first few weeks after your transplant can be tough, but don't worry, your medical team will keep a close eye on you. You'll be in hospital for a while after your transplant, and you might start wondering who the incredible individual is that donated their cells to you. For the first 2 years after your transplant, you're allowed to communicate anonymously with your donor by sending them a card or a letter. Depending on where your donor is from, you may also be able to initiate direct contact after 2 years. As long as you're fit and well. So that's how it all works, from finding a match to having your transplant. But for you and us, this is just the beginning. We're here for you for the whole journey, from day 0 to day 100 and beyond. So do stay in touch.